All right, welcome to episode 1 of Anxious Tradeswoman podcast. So, my name is Louise Azzopardi and I am your host. I will be sharing all the things that I've learnt through the years, through the tears of being an anxious tradeswoman. And in episode 1, I'm going to just share a bit about who I am. So, one of the things, if you guys follow me on social media, I did a post last week about throwing perfectionism in the bin, because really that's what I've had to do by coming on and doing this podcast. Like, I have overthought it so often and I'm just like, no, we are going to get started and we are going to talk into that microphone and we're going to share the knowledge. So I'll get into it. All right. So I'm a heavy vehicle and plant mechanic by trade. So I started my apprenticeship in 2012 at Cummins in Wetherill Park. I was 15 when I started my apprenticeship. I knew school was not for me really early on, tried to leave in year 7, but my parents wouldn't have it. So then from there, I was like, what am I going to do with myself? I need a job to then be able to leave at the end of year 10. And for those of you who are international listeners, I am from Sydney, Australia as well. So when I reference my apprenticeship, it's obviously the Australian version of the apprenticeship. I know all over the world we've got kind of different apprenticeships running, and I'll probably do an episode about all the apprenticeships all over the world and have some of you guys on. But yes, I'm in Australia. So I was 15, started my apprenticeship. I found my apprenticeship at an apprenticeship expo where I had 3 conversations that changed my life. So the first conversation was really short and sharp. The guys were like, at the stand were like, we wouldn't let our daughters do this. We wouldn't let our daughters work at this workshop and we wouldn't want you to work there either. I later found out that male apprentices had been sexually harassed there. So I got out of that one. The second conversation was more of a lecture. So it was this guy lecturing me and my dad about how I couldn't be a mechanic, how I was too small, how I wouldn't be able to move the bikes around. At the time, I was looking at being a motorcycle mechanic. So I left that conversation so disheartened, but my parents kept walking me through the expo, and then I met Sarah. So Sarah at the time was a first year heavy vehicle mechanic. She was working at Cummins and she was the same height as me, the same build as me, and at the time we were both blonde. So it changed a few times since then. But she encouraged me to do work experience at her work. I did. I loved it. I applied for the job and I ended up getting the job. I didn't believe that I was going to get the job just because of some of the things they told me. They're like, oh, we want someone who has their license, who is finishing year 12 kind of thing. And I was like, well, they're all facts that I can't change about myself. So I kind of forgot about it. And when they called me and told me that I got the job, I was like, what job? What are you talking about? Anyway, so I ended up getting that job, started my apprenticeship in 2012, fresh face, straight out of high school. So you could imagine being a woman entering in a male-dominated trade, and I was 15. I still didn't even know who I was. So went into the trades. I remember the first time that I walked into TAFE. So another tidbit for your international peoples. So TAFE is our technical college over here, or TAFE is the main technical college over here. It's the public system, pretty much for technical training. So I remember walking into TAFE and I could hear the sounds of the men. I wouldn't even call them men, they were boys, talking and laughing in the classroom as I walked around the corner, like walked through the corridor. When I stepped into the classroom, everything just went silent and everyone was staring at me, and like you could kind of tell what they were thinking from the looks on their faces. We've all been there. I'll probably do a whole episode on that. But I was thinking, did your parents teach you to shower regularly? Like, these guys were grubby and it was Monday morning and we were in class. So that aside, I take my seat. The teacher comes in and starts marking names off the roll, and he's like, Curtis, Luke, Michael, Adrian. And then he pauses and he's like, Lois? And I'm like, I just raise my hand quietly and I'm like, it's Louise, sir. I had a really, really great relationship with my TAFE peers and my TAFE teachers up until I was a third year apprentice. So when I was a third year, we were in class after the TAFE awards night. I had previously gotten an award in the first year of my apprenticeship, and I had just gotten an award at the recent awards night, recent from that day. And I told my TAFE peers, and they were not happy. They did not, I didn't expect them to be that unhappy about me winning an award. It was really unexpected. And they just started going at the teacher why did she get another award? Are you guys just showing off the girls? Is this all just rigged? Do we have a chance? And it went on for about 10 minutes, and I don't remember exactly what the outcome was. I'm pretty sure the teacher ended up putting them in their place, but the damage had been done. From that moment, I really just went through every opportunity that I had gotten in my life and was thinking, did I only get this opportunity just because I'm a girl? Did I deserve any of this? Did I get my job because I was a girl? Did I get these awards because I was a girl? Did I get these opportunities to speak at schools and speak at expos just because I was a girl? And look, let's be honest, some of them were women in events and encouraging girls. So yes, those opportunities were because I was a woman speaking to other girls. But just going back to the basics, did I get my job because I was a girl, not because I deserved it? And I ran this filter through pretty much everything I did then from that moment. And I just put my head down, ass up, and I was working as hard as I possibly could to prove that I was getting these opportunities because I was good, not because of my gender. I ended up pretty much working myself into the ground. But before I hit rock bottom of exhaustion, I was put forward to compete in the regional world skills competition by my mentor, Raman. Me and Raman actually have a podcast that's on YouTube called Let's Talk Apprenticeships. So he's the one who employed me as an apprentice first up, but he also put me forward to compete in the regional world skills competition. So the world skills competition is pretty much like the Olympics for tradies. It's run regionally, nationally, and internationally. And it's run in about 60 different categories. And, if you're in the US, I'm pretty sure it's called Skills US or USA Skills. And then it's in Canada, and it's all over the world. So wherever you are, you'll be able to find it. So 2015, I was put forward to compete in the regional competition. And at this point in time, my highest achievement that I thought I would be able to achieve, and I had told myself, I was like, I will be happy if I don't come last. And I succeeded. I come second, which was amazing. I got this lovely photo of me standing on the podium, and the guy who's in third place just does not look impressed whatsoever. But anyway, so I didn't come last, so I was very, very happy. First place automatically goes to the national competition, and because I didn't come first, I didn't get that automatic pathway there. So I, asked around a little bit, and some people were like, oh yeah, there might be a spot for you at the national competition if some places don't run their competition or don't have a representative. So I ended up getting put forward to compete in the national competition, and I got selected to compete in it. And in 2016, when I was training for the competition, I was like, none of this second bullshit, I'm going to win this. And I did 2 skill sets, which were short courses. I did it in mobile plant and auto electrical just to really broaden my skills to be able to have the best shot at success that I could. I ended up also getting a part-time job, and I was working, I was training, and a few months, I don't even know if it was a few months, it might have been a month before the national competition, I had been going through some bullying and stuff at my workplace where I did my apprenticeship, and my part-time job was amazing. The job that I was working on Saturdays there, and I really, really loved it. And the boss of the part-time job knew kind of that I was having a bit of a rough go there. And he asked me one day, he's like, oh, Louise, how was work this week? And I was like, actually, about that, do you have a full-time job for me? And he went and spoke to his wife about it. And a few weeks later, I started working for them. So just before I went into the national competition, I had moved workplaces. And it was the best thing that I ever did. So I then went into the national competition from there. I was the first female to win the national heavy vehicle competition. I was also the first female to compete in the national heavy vehicle competition. So it was such an amazing experience. And really just after all that self-doubt, all that imposter syndrome, just wondering if I had gotten this opportunity because I was a girl, I was like, this is marked on, people are marking this. This is a technical thing. There's no way that the bias could have come into it. That's what I chose to believe anyway. But it was still kind of something for me to process. I then ended up competing in the international competition in Abu Dhabi in 2017, where I placed 4th in the competition. I got a Medallion of Excellence. It was such an amazing experience, and I'll probably go in a little bit more of that in detail a bit later on. But anyway, so competed in nationals, internationals, burnt myself out after internationals. I was working full time. I was helping teach classes at a women's shed. I was speaking at different events, encouraging, motivating other women and just people in general to join the trades and the opportunities that it given me. And I was trying to have a life, and I couldn't move. Like, it felt like I was moving through water. I was so exhausted. Like, that's how it felt every day. And I ended up taking 4 months off working full time. I then decided to come back into the workforce as a trainer and assessor. So I was teaching mechanics. So did my Cert 4 in training and assessment, which is what you got to do over here in Australia to become a trainer and assessor, pretty much to teach technically. And I taught technically full-time for 2 years. It was an amazing experience. I taught apprentices, 1st to 3rd years. I taught trade upgrades, so people who were converting from one qualification to another. And it was so amazing. And just really all the conversations that I had with the students, being able to help and support them. So from there, I ended up there was a situation where I got pretty angry just because some of the girls were having a really hard time and the business kept saying that they supported women, but the issues that these girls were having, they were solvable, but they weren't doing anything about it. And I was quite disappointed. And that's when I decided to go out on my own. So in 2021, I left full-time work and I started my business called Louise Azzopardi Training and Development Solutions. And the main purpose of my business is to support tradeswomen and tradies through all the crap that we go through. And not only just to support, but to give you solutions that allow you to create change for yourself and for the workplace and for the culture and for you to pass on to other people. So ultimately, now I do keynote speaking. I'm now doing this podcast. It's kind of surreal. But anyway, speaking, coaching. So I do one-on-one coaching for tradeswomen and tradies, and I also run professional development workshops. So that's a bit about me and, who I am. And really the reason why I want to do this podcast and we'll be doing this podcast is because I want to share all the things that I've learned through the tears with you, so you don't have to. The amount of times that I was crying on the way home in my car, since deciding to become a life coach and a mentor for tradeswomen and tradies, I've also gone through my diploma of life coaching and I'm doing my master practitioner in life coaching as well. So really getting these professional development tools and techniques out to you guys who are working on the floor so you can make real change for yourselves and in the culture. It's really what I am passionate about. And I could probably tell you over and over again how passionate I am. But I will leave this episode here. So thank you so much for listening to episode 1 of the Anxious Tradeswoman podcast. It's surreal. Honestly, I cannot believe it. But I will be recording some more episodes for you guys. So if you're listening to this on the release date, I'm releasing 4 episodes at once, so I will jump on and record those, and I will hear you, or you'll hear me in a minute. Thank you.